Welcome, everybody, to the Off the Wall Hockey Show. It's a hockey show for hockey fans, part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. We are on episode 58, and we are heading down the stretch of the NHL season. As we're well into March now, we're down to about 6 weeks left in the NHL season. We got just over a week to go until the trade deadline. About 6 weeks left of the regular season, and playoff hockey is coming quick. So, obviously, a lot to talk about this week as the season rolls along. As always, I am joined here by Steele, my co-host for the show. Steele, what's going on? Welcome in. Thank you for coming on again this week and ready to talk some NHL action.
Oh, boy, am I ready for some hockey. Oh, my gosh, folks. I can't believe what kind of an incredible week of hockey we've had. We've had some great stories. We are going to cover a lot of stuff in the next 2 hours. And let me first start off by saying, John, thank you so much for all you do at Steel Flyers All Sports Network. Thank you so much for all the hard work and all of the great stuff that you do and put out, especially your streams, especially the games that you call. Listen, folks, we do not call this man the GOAT. That's right, greatest of all time. That's right. We call him that because he is. And if you aren't following him and you aren't listening to him, you are missing out. So get him in your ears. Hit the like and subscribe, please. If you are not following John, you're missing out on great hockey information and great calls for the game. So check out John, man, for sure. Thank you very much for having me. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
All right, well, we're ready to get into it here. We're going to start with our top stories. And, boy, there's a lot of re-signing news this week. Contracts are starting to come in.
You know.
And, boy, well, one of these I have a lot to say about. And it involves your team. So I think you're going to have a lot to say about it, too.
Maybe.
So I want to get right into this because
right,
I got like notes ready to go on this one.
Oh, gosh. Here we go. This is going to be bad, I can tell.
The Philadelphia Flyers re-signed defenseman Rasmus Ristolainen to a 5-year contract, making over $5 million per season at $5.1 million AAV. Yep. Before I say anything, I want to let you go first. Let me know what you think about this. You're the Flyers fan, and I'm just going to let you take this.
Okay. So earlier, I got a chance to blow off a little steam about this on the Great Pearl of Wisdom show. Check out the Great Pearl of Wisdom. He's also one of the great people here at the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, along with Peyton on the radio and Lance Green from Hockey Writers Inc. Check us all out on the steelflyers.com. Let me tell you something here, man. Okay, so last offseason, Chuck Fletcher went out and said, yeah, we need a defenseman. Let's get Rasmus Ristolainen. Yeah, he's a good guy. We'll get him. Wait a minute. Oh, they need a first-round draft pick. Okay, here you go. Oh, they need Robert Hank. Okay, here you go. Oh, they need this. Okay, here you go. Like they just kept giving and giving and giving, and this guy's making $4.5 million a year now.
Yep.
And he is not even in the top 30 in defensemen.
Oh, God, no.
Okay, so if he's not even in the top 30 in defensemen and he's already making $4.5 million, you're giving him a raise? And you're signing him for some term, too?
5 years. That's not just a couple. You're locked into this now.
Do you realize? Let's just break some of this down here, shall we? Philadelphia doesn't really have much on the back end to speak of now, even other than him. They got Sanheim for the next 2 years, which that contract and that player is all but, well, a waste of money, if you ask me. Justin Braun's going to be a free agent or traded at the trade deadline because he's no longer going to be under contract, right? So there's another hole. Yandel is also a free agent after this.
Yep.
Right? There's another hole, right? So now you're telling me now that you got to bring up Cam York, right? And
Yep.
now Zamula,
Yep.
right? And, and you're supposed to be counting on Ellis.
He's been
Ugh.
injured like the whole season.
Whole season he played 4 games.
Yeah.
4. And he's making $5.5 million a year for the next 3.
Oh boy.
So they re-signed Couturier, which his deal takes place this coming year.
Yep.
They re-signed Joel Farabee, which his deal takes place this coming year.
Yep.
They're going to need a backup goaltender because Martin Jones is also going to be a free agent this year. Okay. Are you starting to see some red flags going up here? Are you starting
I see a lot of red flags. I don't know how Chuck Fletcher still has a job.
So that's red flag number 1. Like, the fact that you traded your number 1 draft pick for Ristolainen, and then one of your most physical defensemen as well, and then, a second or a third round pick, and then you re-sign him for more money than what he's making now, and he's not even playing as good as he played in Buffalo for Philadelphia.
Yeah, this is bad.
Look, I have great respect for Ristolainen. I think he is a coachable player. I think he could be a very good, second-tier defenseman. Okay? But I think he needs to be in a system where he needs to focus on one thing or the other. He can't be a hybrid. He either needs to be an offensive defenseman or a defensive defenseman. He's not talented enough to do both. Okay? And it seems like both Buffalo and now Philadelphia are asking him to do that. I think if he was in a better coach with a better system that has more accountability from the forwards all the way back to the defense, then I can almost justify this money. But none of that is going on in Philadelphia, and none of that's going to happen in Philadelphia. So I'm really scratching my head on this one, Chuck.
Okay, this is brutal. Now, maybe I'm a little biased because I've never liked Ristolainen. I always thought he's been massively overrated.
I've liked his game. I mean, I've watched every game. I like his game.
He's so bad in every aspect.
He is. He just is.
If you use analytics, he's awful. If you use regular statistics, he's awful. If you use the eye test, he's terrible.
He's off the charts awful.
I've watched this. He's been in the league now almost a decade. I think this is his 9th season in the NHL.
Yeah.
He's never looked good to me.
Nope.
He's always looked bad. Never has passed the eye test. His statistics, he actually had a few 40-plus point seasons with Buffalo where he at least put up some offense. He's never been good defensively, but at least he put up some offense. The last 2 seasons, he's gone from 33 points in 2019-20 down to 18 points last year, down to 14 points so far this year. He's gone downhill each of the past 3 seasons.
Exactly. And you gave him a raise?
He's minus 174 in his career.
And you gave him a raise.
All right. So regular statistics.
Why is he re-signed?
He's awful. He's awful.
Minus 174.
He looks bad. His statistics are bad, and now we're gonna get into the analytics. And I have his JFresh hockey card up here, who puts everything into a nice percentile for everybody.
Yes, it does.
So it goes
That's
0
nice.
to 100, and then I'm gonna have some fun with this. 0 to 100, with 100 being the best and 0 being like worst in the league.
Right.
Rasmus Ristolainen, this is weighted average over the last 3 years. It puts it into a percentage. What do you think 0 to 100, his WAR, wins above replacement, are for these last 3 seasons?
Single digits.
Yep.
6. Oh, God.
1.
All right.
He is
Gosh.
1% in WAR for the
God.
last 3 years. Ready? His even strength offense. 0 to 100? What do you think even strength offense is?
-2.
No, 29.
Oh,
He's actually better offensively than defensively. People look at him as this defensive defenseman. He's not. He's an offensive defenseman.
yeah.
His even strength defense, 7.
Wow.
Penalty kill, 13.
Oh.
On a scale from 0 to 100, 13.
It's like body shot, uppercut.
Goals,
body shot.
Goals per 60, 29 percentile. 29th percentile. Actually, one thing he's not horrible at, passing the puck. Assists, primary assists, A1, primary assists per 60, 43 percentile. Still below 50, but that's one of his best stats.
Wow. By a large margin.
Yep. Everything else, he's awful.
Is it like me, or is it like didn't we had a lot to complain about the whole Seth Jones deal too, didn't we?
Yeah.
Right?
Isn't that was a bad one. But
yeah.
This is also a really bad one.
Yeah.
I don't understand what it is about, like, everything that I've seen of people trying to spin this in a positive way for the Flyers is he hits. That's the only positive I've seen.
And he's a big dude.
He's big and he hits.
And I will say this, and the great Jim Jackson pointed this out. He is a really good deterrent. Since he has been with the Flyers, there have been less run-ins to Giroux or to other star-type players. There have been less cheap shots taken to those type players. You know, they happen all the time. If you don't have somebody out there that says, hey, wait a minute, buddy, if you cross this line, you're going to have to be looking down to me.
Okay, so you're gonna pay $5 million for a deterrent.
No.
When you on your bottom pair, you could have a defenseman making less than $1 million be your deterrent. So
right.
Okay,
and we have one of those guys on the roster already in the lower club. So
so the big thing here with that, or the big positive that everyone's trying to spin, is that he hits, he's big, he's a deterrent, whatever.
It's not worth that money.
$5.1 million. You know who's a deterrent playing for the Calgary Flames right now? Who fights, hits, blocks shots, is big? Erik Goodbranson.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Erik Goodbranson is making this season?
Wait a minute. Now, don't tell me. $857,000.
A little more than that. $1.95 million.
Well, minus taxes and everything, that's about what he's taking home.
$1.95 million for Erik Goodbranson to be a deterrent for the Calgary Flames.
Yes. Who is much better.
Who's having a significantly better season than Rasmus Ristolainen.
Mm-hmm.
And he's making less than $2 million to be a third-pair defenseman this year. So Philadelphia just paid a deterrent, a big physical defenseman, $5.1 million. For the next 5 years. It's not like this is something they can just get out of either. You are locked into him now till he's 32 years old.
I keep saying it. I seem to be the only one saying it. I have been the only one saying it since before last season. How does this man still have a job?
I don't know. He shouldn't.
I mean, he tried to build a team around a coach and a player, and that player couldn't even manage to be healthy enough to stick around much this year. I mean, now he's played in the last couple of games, but Hayes has been out most of the time. They tried to build a team around him. almost at one time there was 11 players, and not just bottom guys. We're talking Couturier, Ellis, big top line guys are out for extended periods of time here for Philadelphia. So don't give me that. He tried to build a team around these people. Then they fired the coach.
Yep.
They bring in this ex-guy that he had when he fired the coach in Minnesota, Mike Yeo. Well, that's really heating up the win column there, ain't it?
Yep. No, not at all. I'm Mike Yeo is a yikes. I've never been a fan of his as a head coach. I don't understand what the point is here. How there's no justifying this, because if you think of, all right, 5 years, $5.1 million, you would think that for somebody to get that kind of contract, they've got to be a pretty darn good top 4 defenseman.
So you would think somebody like a Slavin
Carolina. I think he'll make a lot more than that,
but that's kind of
he's an elite shutdown guy. You got to at least be a good top 4 defenseman to get this kind of money.
Okay, so he's not even.
Well, if you look at Rasmus Ristolainen as a top 4 defenseman, he's one of the worst top 4 defensemen in the NHL. Probably the worst.
The worst.
I would say probably the worst top 4 defenseman in the NHL, if you call him that. If you call him a bottom pair defenseman, which I think he should be, you're paying a bottom pair defenseman $5.1 million. Like, there's no way to justify this. If you look at him in the top 4, he's awful. Like, literally as bad as it gets for top 4 defensemen. And if you look at him as a bottom pair defenseman, you just paid a bottom pair defenseman $5 million a year.
So now that just jacked everybody else's salaries up now too. Now because now all these low end guys now are going to be like, well, they gave Rasmus Ristolainen $5.1 million.
It's like, what? And then what are you doing here? Like, I thought Philadelphia was going into a rebuild, or at least a retool. If you're gonna trade Giroux, and you're gonna lose, your captain, you're gonna go into that. All right, we're obviously not making it right now. We got to retool. Why are you signing a 27-year-old bad defenseman to a 5-year deal if you're trying to get younger and go into a retool? Like, there's nothing that makes this make sense.
Nope, not a thing. Which is why I have a hard time still fathoming the fact that some of these people still have jobs in Philadelphia. Do you realize that we've just spent the last 20 minutes talking about Rasmus Ristolainen signing a 5-year, $5.1 million deal?
You know why I think they did it? You know why I think Fletcher did this? Because of what they gave up.
Yeah.
Because imagine him going to ownership and saying, we gave up everything that they gave up in that trade. The first round pick was a second round pick on top of it. Robert Haig.
Yeah.
Gave up all of this to get Ristolainen for what? One season where you finish like 25 points out of a playoff spot? He couldn't justify giving up what he gave up for Ristolainen just for him to stink. But now he's compounded. He's compounded He's compounded the problem. Mm-hmm. Because now not only did you give up all of that, the first round pick, Haig, which, losing Robert Haig, he's a bottom pair guy. It's not a big deal for Philadelphia. Losing that first round pick for Ristolainen, stinks for the Flyers.
Yes. It does.
That hurts.
It does. And they're counting on, and this is why I think something else is going to bite him in the tushy here too. They're counting on getting that first-round draft pick back when they trade Giroux.
Giroux, yeah.
Right? Well, I'm going to have news here for y'all. Okay? Giroux holds all the cards.
Yeah.
Okay? And the only way Giroux's going to get traded is if Giroux agrees to it. And the only way that is going to happen is if it is good for Giroux.
Yep.
Okay? So, when you break it down and look at what's good for Giroux, that's not a lot of good coming back for Philadelphia. If you were, say, like Colorado because it's closer to out west. He's from Manitoba.
Alex Newhook would be your best bet to get back from Colorado.
And they don't have a first-round draft pick in this coming draft either, so you're not getting a number 1 draft pick back.
No, I mean you'd have to be banking on Newhook becoming. I mean Newhook was a first-round pick, so you'd have to be banking on him to turn out into what he's supposed to. Now, I don't know. Who do you want drafting? Do you want somebody that Joe Sakic drafted and Alex Newhook, or do you want Chuck Fletcher drafting with that first pick?
So,
personally, I'd take Newhook, honestly.
I would too, but I would take him all day long, dude.
I like Newhook a lot. He played at Boston College too, so I got to see a good amount of him.
See, there you go. I knew there was going to be some kind of connection there with Boston. But no, I would take him all day. But here's the problem, right? See, so there's a list of players that have been drafted, say, in the last 10 years that equate to about a team's worth of players that have all put their name on the cup for another team. Okay? Now, that to me says one very clear message. You have a very poor player development program. Now, my good buddy Lance, right, wrote a great article the other day and posted it. And Lance Green, he's the beat writer for the Philadelphia Flyers. He covers the games for the FlyersNittyGritty.com. He also covers them for the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. But let me tell you something. He wrote this article, and he said exactly that. You know,
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense to make any of these moves in Philadelphia, and Giroux is going to maybe stay because he wants to finish his career in Philadelphia, and there's not going to be a good enough offer to come back for Giroux, I don't feel.
Probably not.
Okay, for a team that he would have to choose. Look, he's from Manitoba, so any place closer to that town, and any place closer to getting his name on a cup, if that's what he wants, then that's what he's gonna have to give his consent to.
Minnesota.
Okay, but see, here's the thing. In Lance's article, he wrote about how the Flyers' development system needs to be completely revamped. Because you bring in players that are 100-point producers in juniors, and then they come to the Philadelphia, and where's their offense? It takes them 6 years to make the big club if they barely do, and then they wash out, and then that's it.
Yep.
You can't tell me that there's that many players that come that are drafted by the NHL that wash out like that. I mean, I know there's a large percentage, but there's also a good percentage of them that maintain and still play.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, good God, dude. So all they do is perpetuate the problem in Philadelphia. They don't ever correct it. They just perpetuate it.
Yeah.
So we've talked 24 minutes about it.
Yeah. I don't know what direction they're trying to go in here, but this doesn't make any sense to me. He's a really bad player, and they just locked into him for a long-term deal at over $5 million a year. I imagine it's because Fletcher didn't want to trade everything that he got for everything that he gave up to get Ristolainen for a guy that only played for one season there. But to me, that's just compounding the problem. Like you could have at least stopped. I mean, it would have been a horrible loss if you traded all that for Risto and he was only here for a year and then left after a season. That would be a terrible loss. But you've made it even worse by locking him into a terrible contract.
Why couldn't you try to trade him?
Exactly. You could have at least maybe recouped something.
At least a third or fourth round draft pick for him.
At least something, rather than locking him into this awful deal.
Some prospect or something, and not have to eat his salary for the next year.
9 seasons, he's never been good. What makes you think he's just going to be good? on a team that's not good. It's not like he's going to a top end team like Colorado. Like maybe if this was the Avalanche and he was, getting put onto a top tier team like that, maybe you'd see some improvement. Philadelphia is not much of an upgrade.
No.
This is a team that hasn't made the playoffs the past 2 years.
And they're not going to make it this year neither.
No chance. And what has he done? Like, if you look at Philadelphia last year and you look at Philadelphia this year with Ristolainen and last year without,
they're worse.
What's the difference? Like,
They're worse.
how has he made the team better in any way? Their defense still stinks. They still give up way too many goals. He's awful defensively. I have no idea where this narrative of him being a defensive defenseman came from.
Right.
He's literally one of the worst defensive players in the league. I don't understand it at all.
Do you know today, right, on the Parallelism show, we talked about two really cool things. The time that you threw your sweatshirt off.
Oh, yeah. That was... I remember that well.
Okay, right? So, and then we talk about how Peyton just... When he gets that vein sticking out in his foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we talked about that today too, right? So this is on that same line.
Yep.
That you would, I mean, as a just back away as a Philadelphia Flyer fan, but as an analyst, and look at this from a, top-down hockey analyst point of view, and you put your goggles on and you break out all your statistics and your calculator and everything, and you go, wow, man, these guys are really stupid.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing signing this guy? Look at his numbers are what? So he's a good team guy. He's a deterrent, and he's a big player that hits. And you just paid $5.1 million a year for the next 5 years for that.
I can get a third pair defenseman who's a big guy, a deterrent, and a team locker room type guy for $1.5 million.
That's going to be out there every night giving you 110%.
Who's probably better than Rasmus Ristolainen.
All day long, because I'm here to tell you there's some times where you see Rasmus not really giving it all 100%.
And the other thing I've noticed with him throughout his career, his positioning is awful.
Yeah, like he doesn't seem to know where to be.
Oh, he's out of place all the time.
All the time.
And that's a coaching. I imagine that's a coaching thing.
It is.
But, he's out of position all the time. He takes stupid runs at people. They just go right around him.
Exactly.
He doesn't cover guys going to the net the way he's supposed to. He's out of position all the time.
Yeah, he's not very good either at if the defenseman or if one of the other defensemen pinches over, he doesn't cover.
Yeah, because he has no clue where he's supposed to be on the ice.
Okay. Well,
it's like
I have never look, folks. I am not a professional. I have never laced it up in anger. I have never put a stick in my hand. I can barely skate on ice. Okay? And I can see that this guy is just not good.
Oh, he's terrible. He's so bad.
Ooh, and I get to see him every game. I mean,
I feel bad for you for that. I'm really glad I don't have to watch Rasmus Ristolainen play every game.
I mean, he looks good in the warm-ups because he's, real tall on the...
Does he go no bucket in warm-ups? Does he?
He
lets the hair flow.
Yeah,
that's the best he's ever looked on the ice is in warm-ups.
He gets the salad flying, buddy.
Yeah. Best he's ever looked on the ice is in warm-ups.
Oh my gosh. Hey, listen, John, buddy, can we talk about something else now?
Yeah, there's
please?
a couple more signings that happened this week that I actually really like. So we're gonna completely 180 it here. There's a couple signings I really, really like. And the first one was Jared McCann with the Seattle Kraken. 5x5 for Jared McCann in Seattle. He's their leading goal scorer this year. He's their leading point producer this year. I've really become a fan of him since he went to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
He wasn't very good in Florida, and I was always kind of, he never broke out in Florida the way that I thought he was going to, because he was a first-round pick, talented kid, only lasted 1 year in Vancouver, and they traded him, which was, I thought, really odd that they gave up on him so quickly.
Yeah. Well, you know.
But they sent him to Florida, and I thought he was going to kind of break out with Florida, and it never really happened. But then he went to Pittsburgh, and he started to show that he could be a really solid middle six player. And his last year in Pittsburgh, I was like, okay, this kid's on the verge of really taking that next step. Then, obviously, the expansion draft happens. He gets traded to Toronto, and it was just like a roster move for the expansion draft purposes. Never actually played in Toronto.
Right.
Then gets left unprotected and gets picked up by Seattle in the expansion
Yeah.
draft, which I thought was one of Seattle's best picks.
Of course.
And he now leads them in goal scoring this year, leads them in points. And this is a guy that I think has proven himself to be a legitimate second-line player. And I love the versatility. He can play wing or center, comfortable in both, can produce in both positions. This is a guy that I really wanted Seattle to give a deal like this to. And I think he can be a really, really good second-line player for them. Now, unfortunately, Seattle doesn't really have any first-line players, so he doesn't have that support around him that he would, say, on another team. Like if he was back in Pittsburgh, geez, he'd be on the second line, probably playing the wing on Malkin's line in Pittsburgh, and he'd probably have like 50 to 60 points this year. This is a guy that I think can be a legitimate 50-plus point guy in the NHL, legitimate second line player, and 5x5 for that I think is a great deal for the Kraken.
I have to agree with you 100%. And I also we were there for the draft.
Yep.
For the Kraken, right?
Yep.
We did that show, me and you, live, and I'll tell you what, I do agree with you. I thought he was one of their better picks.
Big time, absolutely.
You know, and it's paid off for them too because he's led the Kraken in scoring.
Yep.
Right, you know what I mean? And so I didn't really get to see him much until he came to Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? So I didn't really get to see him before then, and so I got to see him play in Pittsburgh a little bit. Yep. And yeah, he looked like he was emerging.
Yeah.
But players tend to do that when you get to play with the likes of Crosby and Malkin and you know and
Russ,
those types.
Gensel,
Right.
Kapanen. I could go on and on with Pittsburgh's roster.
I mean, and Carter and
Carter.
So when you get to play with guys like that, you should be putting up some kind of points, something maybe. So the fact that he's able to be away from that and still shine with the Kraken, who, let's face it, are one of the bottom teams in the league as far as scoring, as far as anything offensive.
That's what I've been most impressed with, is that he's got 34 points in 52 games on a team with an abysmal offense.
You know?
Like, their overall offense is terrible.
I mean, like, I was telling this Perlo, I was like, man, I really want to like the Kraken. I really, really want to like them, okay? Like, I've been following a lot of the Panthers games this year. I've been following a lot of the Colorado games. I've been following a lot of the Carolina games. Okay. And I've been trying to catch the Kraken games too, but it's like watching a Philadelphia Flyer rerun nightmare. Right? Because it's Dave Hackstall.
Yep.
And as soon as I was like, wow, there's quite a great list of coaches that could be coaching up there in Seattle. And Dave Hackstall was announced, and I was just like, oh, well, all right, I guess y'all don't want to win ever. Because they're not. He's not able to get anything out of these guys.
Yeah.
I watched him work in Philadelphia where he was not able to put a consistent line out on a nightly basis.
Yep.
He would get guys that would be on the line for one game and then weren't even on the same line the next game.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's like, what are you doing, man?
I ask that a lot with some of the stuff that they do. Absolutely.
So, like I said, I really, really want to like Seattle. I really do. But this is a good deal for them, and this is a good deal for Jared. He is worthy of said money. He is worthy. Now, I would like to pay this guy $5.5 million or $5 million for 5 years to come and play for Philadelphia.
Yeah. Certainly. I just
Good
did
gravy.
I just did the math out. He has 34 points in 52 games this year. If you spread that out over 82 games, that's 53-point pace. So he's a 50-plus point player. I'll take a 50-plus point guy at $5 million all day long. What's JVR making in Philly? Like 7?
0.25
Ugh.
for 2 more.
Oh boy.
For 2 more years.
Give me Mccann on a 5x5. He's also
All
only
day.
25 years old. So
I know.
Just coming into
Stop
the
it.
prime of his career.
Stop it.
Love this deal for Seattle.
I do too.
Love
I think
that
it's great.
deal.
I do too. I think it's great. I like I said, I have a feeling that Seattle's probably going to have a new coach. Maybe after this season.
I hope so.
I hope so too, because I really hope they can do better than. I mean, there's so many coaches out there right now. I mean, Alain Vigneault even would be a better shot of coaching Seattle now than Hackstall would be.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. I just said that. But, I'm hoping maybe he'll want to bring some of those guys back to Seattle, and he'll take all those guys away from Philly.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I can dream.
So another signing that I really like just happened today.
Yes. And this is
Joe
go ahead.
Yeah.
Great signing for Joe. He gets a base salary of $5.5 million with additional $500,000 in performance incentives. And you know what? Not bad for a 37-year-old.
37 years old and having one of his best seasons in years. With Dallas this year. Went
to the All-Star game.
Yep.
Did really well in the 21. Right? Wasn't he the guy that was in the 21 that we did? We did the All-Star game.
Yeah, he did very well.
He did very well in the 21, right? And but the fact that he's 37 and is coming off of a 3-year deal worth $21 million, and getting this 1-year deal for $5.5 or $6 million.
Well, 5.5 counts against the cap. So his AAV is 5.5. 1-year deal, he's 37, obviously up there in age. But he's got 59 points.
Leads the Stars.
He has 59 points in 56 games this year. I just did the quick math on that, too. On pace for an 86-point season as a 37-year-old with Dallas this year. The last time he scored 86 points in a season, never. It literally could be his best season offensively could be this year as a 37-year-old.
He's got 22 goals already.
37 assists as well.
I know. That's what I mean. It's like, and they've played 56 games, so there's still 18 or 19 games left or whatever.
20. What does Dallas have left? 25-ish, something like that, because they got to get to 82. 56, 20 is 76, plus another 6.
So 32.
I'm trying to do math in my head.
I know, I am
too. That seems too high.
Okay, 6. Hold on, wait. Hold on. So it's 20.
It's 26.
26.
26 more games.
26 more games. There you go. We figured it out.
So his career best in points is 2013-2014, 79 points with San Jose. He had a career high 41 goals that year.
Wow.
So 79 points is his career best. He's at 59 right now, so he's 20 points away. He's 20 points away from his career high in points, and he's so far over a point per game this season with Dallas. Now,
I think he'll make it.
If we look here, Dallas has played 56 games, so assuming Pavelski plays the remaining 26 games, if he keeps a point per game pace up, he is going to beat his personal best for most points in an NHL season this year as a 37-year-old.
Even if he, say, misses 6 games.
He still could score 20 and 20.
That's what I mean.
He
right?
still could score 20 and 20 and beat or at least tie his personal best record.
That's what I mean. So even if he misses, like, say, 6 games out of the next 26, so that gives him, a ding here, a bang there, a hiccup there, or whatever, that gives him that little leadway there. So that gives you that plus or minus percentile point.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'm just happy that he re-signed.
He's also a plus 14. He's very good defensively.
That's the big number right there.
This is a great contract for the Stars. He's been their best player this year. He's been their outright best player.
Agreed. 100%. So that was another great signing.
Wow.
So that's 2 great signings there, because the Jared McCann deal,
I like a lot.
That is so, like, such a perfect deal.
Yeah. 53-point pace this year.
Yeah.
If he's your second line center, 50 to 55 points, second line center, well worth $5 million a year.
Exactly. And I also believe, too, that Pavelski is also worth that.
Oh, yeah. He's well worth $5.5 million. If he was younger, he would have gotten a way bigger contract.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
The only reason he's getting this 1-year deal at 5.5 is because he's 37.
Yeah.
If he was 27, you'd be looking at like $9 million a year for Pavelski.
Easy.
You'd be looking at $9 million a year for Pavelski the way that he's producing if he was 27 instead of 37.
Easy, especially if he's already got 22 goals right now.
Yeah.
And 59 points, and he's only played 56 games.
Yeah,
right?
You're looking at over a point per game player. He'd be getting $9 million. He'd be getting $9 million a year if it was 10. If he was 10 years younger. But because he's older, obviously the contract gets smaller because you don't know how much longer he's going to be able to keep this up. I just find it crazy that he's had a tremendous NHL career, and he could literally have his best offensive production season as a 37-year-old.
And it looks like it's only gonna potentially get better.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's one of those guys, though. He's like a late bloomer guy, right? Like, I'll give you another example of a guy I'm talking about, like Mike Knuble. Didn't come into the league until he was in his later, mid-20s. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, didn't break into the league until then, or something like that. And he was a late bloomer, but he played a number of seasons and was very productive and got better as he got older until, right before he retired.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I believe he retired from Washington Capitals. He played for Washington, Philadelphia, a couple other teams, I believe, too. But
yeah,
he was one of those guys that, he was just one of those, steady guys that was there. I mean, just he wasn't leading the league or leading the team in goals, but he was still capable of doing between 15, 17, 18, 19, 20 goals a game or a season. He was good on the power play because he would stand in the front, you know what I mean, and be that director or be that block, screen guy or whatever. That's where his office was right in front.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
Pavelski was drafted in 2003. His rookie year was 2006, 2007. So that was 3 years later. So he was 21 his rookie year. He had 28 points in 46 games. The year after that, when he was 22, he had 40 points in 82 games. He took that next step. And then he had his breakout season at 23 in 2008-2009. He had 59 points that season and was a continual 50-point-plus guy every year after that. Had multiple seasons over 70 points. Had a lot more 60-plus points. Dropped back into the 50s. Well, last year doesn't really count because it was a shortened season. So
yeah.
Had 51 points in 56 games last year and now has 59 points in 56 games this year. So, I mean, he's been just a staple of consistency, a fantastic player for his entire career. And, you would think that a guy would have his best season at like 28, 29, something like that. He may have his best season at 37 this year with the Dallas Stars.
everything's coming together. You know what I mean? Look, all we have to do is look and see how long, or see the fact that Yager in his 50s still playing.
True.
So
I wonder how long Pavelski can go, because he's never been a guy that's had a lot of injury issues or anything.
No,
so,
and he doesn't seem like he's like slowing down.
No, he's getting better in his late 30s.
That's what I mean.
So
Like, he's getting better as he's
I
getting
wonder how
older.
much longer Pavelski can go. He's a great player, though.
I
Awesome
agree.
deal for him and Dallas.
Yeah, I agree. Like, he's one of those guys that I would like to have on our team.
I think there's 31 teams around the NHL saying that.
That have that same feeling?
Yep. I think there's
I would agree with that.
31 teams around the league saying that they wish they had Joe Pavelski, and one of the 32 teams is lucky enough to say that they do.
And they just locked him up for another season.
They just signed him for another season. But
right. So I'm with you on that one, man, for sure. Good gravy.
There is the signing news from this week, and they have been pumped out. Ristolainen, McCann, now Pavelski. Contracts are coming. One last bit of news here that I wanted to touch on before we get into the segments. Nicholas Backstrom, Wednesday night against Edmonton, scored his 1,000th career point.
Yep.
In the NHL, and obviously he was a guy that it was just a matter of time before he got there. But
the first time they thought he scored it, and whoops, that was an offside, so that goal came back.
Got called back. Carlson's power play goal got called back, so
right.
Then they have to go try again, but they end up scoring. Backstrom gets his 1,000th point. Played his entire career with the Capitals. Obviously, a lot of those points are assists. He's, I think, one of the best playmakers of this modern era of the NHL. And he's made a lot of assists to Alex Ovechkin throughout his career, and those have kind of been the guys that, you know, Washington is, you know, it's been Backstrom and Ovechkin kind of as the duo in Washington. Although once Kuznetsov came into the picture, there was a lot of kind of mishmashing with the lines where Ovechkin would play with Kuznetsov instead, and Backstrom would get different wingers or whatever.
And then Oshie came too.
Yeah, Oshie got involved in all of that, but a lot of those assists are to Ovechkin. He's got 737 career assists. And keep in mind, he's still only 34 years old. It's not like he's in his late 30s yet. There's still, I mean, he could play another 4 or 5 years.
I was just going to say, there's still some tread left on them tires.
Yeah, he could play another 4 to 5 years easily.
Exactly. I'm with you on that, man. And you know, I really think, though, that having him score that 1,000th point, you know, look, because Ovechkin's on goal watch.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but to see somebody score that many points, and still have some tread left on the tires, still, I mean, go Nicholas Backstrom. I mean, I have to agree with you though. Yeah, a lot of them have gone to Ovechkin, but that duo, you know, I think you guys were talking about, or they were talking about this on one of the shows. You know, the greatest duos in hockey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And, like, so one of the greatest duos you'd have to put is Ovechkin and Backstrom.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about, you know, maybe I was missing.
No, I feel like that was one that we kind of left off. Or that might have been what started the...
maybe it was
I think Backstrom Ovechkin was what started that whole conversation.
Okay, all right.
Because then we were trying to think of other duos that would be at that level.
Yeah, because there really aren't.
Kane and Caves.
Maybe.
Kane and Taves came to mind, although they haven't played together all that much. But they have a little bit. Bergeron and Marchand in Boston.
Marchand, that was the other one that was touched on as well too. They have a much longer history.
Yeah, but man, Washington here with Ovechkin and Backstrom. I mean, you've got years and years and years of massive production. And, I mean, I think it just proves what a fantastic passer Backstrom is. You got to get Ovechkin the puck. You got to get him the puck through traffic. You've got to get him the puck in the right spot to be able to score. And he's been able to do that. I think he's one of the more underrated players of the last 12 plus years in the NHL. And I think he's one of the best setup men that we've seen in recent memory. Obviously, Joe Thornton and all his assists is certainly kind of looked at as one of the best playmakers. Sidney Crosby's an incredible playmaker, but Backstrom is right there. There's a reason he's got over 700 assists in his career.
I mean, the fact that many has gone to just Ovechkin, right? Right? Or is that just his total number of assists? No,
that's his total is 737.
Yeah, but I'd be willing to put some large amounts of
I wonder if someone's kept that stat. How many have gone on of those assists are from Ovechkin goals?
Because I would like to know that number.
That would be a great number to know. I don't know. I don't know if anybody's kept that stat, but
would be worth it to check out. Maybe I don't know. I could be wrong on that one, but I think that's going to be a seriously big number.
I do too.
The fact that he's been able to play with Ovechkin for this amount of time, the fact that he's been able to stay on the team, and he's missed some time, some games. He's missed some. He's had some injuries, a little bit here and there, but play.
He missed some time this year. He's only played 26 games.
Right.
But he did play 55 out of 56 last year.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So, congratulations, Mr. Backstrom, on your 1,000th point.
That's awesome. Anytime somebody hits 1,000, that's a big moment. That's a big
anything
moment.
In hockey.
Yeah.
In anything in hockey, gosh, if you get to your 1,000th game,
yep,
your 1,000th point,
yep.
I don't know about you, but all right, man, cool on you. That's a tough number to get to, man. Because let's face it, there's only 82 games in a season.
Yep.
Okay, and so if you say you play 10 years, and you, in that 10 years, play every single game.
That's 820.
That's only 820 games. You still got 180 to go there, mister.
Yeah, which is
that's 3-4 more seasons.
2+ more seasons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So keep going. Right, that'll get you to 1,000. There's very rare that a player comes into the league and starts their rookie year and then plays 820 games for their first 10 years. That's never happened, has it?
I have no idea if anybody's played that many. Probably not. I don't think so. Not that many straight, no.
Yeah, straight. I know there's streaks of consecutive games in like what
Keith Yandle just broke.
Right, Keith Yandle's
the
breaking
Iron Man streak, but that's not to start a career, I don't believe.
Right, that was like, and that's been over the last 10 years now?
Yeah.
Like he's 900 and some games.
That goes all the way back for Yandle.
Right.
I think even back into the late 2000s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but there's never been a player that's come into the league very first game and then just rattled off the next 10 years without missing a single freaking game.
Not 100% sure. I don't think anybody started a career that way, though.
I don't think anybody has either.
I'm not sure, though. I'd have to look at that.
But that's kind of the only way. I mean, that's kind of the lunacy of these numbers we're talking about. You've played 900 and some consecutive games.
Oh, yeah, that's nuts.
That's freaking lunacy, man. Come on. Right?
That's very, very few players have come even close to that.
So, okay. But Nicholas Backstrom scoring his 1,000th. 1,000th. Yeah, say that 3 times really fast. 1,000th point. Congratulations, Mr. Backstrom. That's pretty exciting, man.
Yeah, he hit 1,000 games last year. He's at 1,037 now, and he's up to 1,000 points.
And we're on goal watch here now for Ovechkin. Their game comes on at 10 p.m. Eastern time, which is...
Well, he would have had it already if he hit the 2 open nets that he had against Edmonton that he just blatantly just missed. I have no idea. Like,
How do you miss that?
Never seen Ovechkin miss chances like that before.
Well, he's getting older now, and
I think it's in his head. I think it's in his head, but he had a wide open net. He just puts it 6 feet over the crossbar.
I saw that. I was like, what the
Literally,
greatest
goal scorer of all time, and he puts the puck 6 feet over the crossbar when he has a potentially game-winning goal on his stick like that. I've never seen that from him, but we'll see if he can get it tonight. It's definitely in his head. He's thinking about it. You can tell just the way that he's playing that he's thinking about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. We watched him. We covered the game, Steel Flyers All Sports Network. We covered the game Philadelphia against Washington a couple Saturdays ago. Mm-hmm. And I watched him during warm-ups, and he kind of was like going through the same things that he does normally in warm-ups.
Yep.
Right? But I saw something a little different when the national anthem was going. He was like skating, like his feet were going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And he just was like looking out into space.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was completely checked out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he wasn't even on the score sheet that game. Completely checked out. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on in Mr. Ovechkin's head.
Yeah.
Given all that's been going on in the world these days.
Yeah.
So this was right when all that stuff was going down.
Wonder if, it's weighing on him.
Well, he does have a relationship with the motherland.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
that's true.
He is Russian after all. So, I mean, I'm not trying to say he's part of what's going on here by any stretch of the word. I'm not saying that. But
it's got to have a mental effect on him.
That's
especially
what I mean. It's
just like the way all the stuff on social media, the way that the fans are. He's getting booed now in every arena that he goes to. Like, there's got to be a mental toll there, and it very well could be having an effect.
I think it is. I really think it is. I really think it's affecting. I think it's affecting him, and I think it's affecting the Capitals. Because they haven't really been playing all that well either.
Well, they've gotten better the last few games. They were on a bad stretch.
That's what I mean.
Like when it all started, they were not playing well. They've kind of corrected it the last, I'd say 3 or 4 games. But before that, they had a brutal stretch.
Right.
People
they lost
were wondering
4
if
games
they were
in a
going to
row.
drop out of the playoffs, and they seem to have gotten back on track now. But
I'm with you.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be some sort of mental aspect there where it's just taking a bit of a toll.
Wouldn't disagree with you on that one, friend. Would not disagree with you on that one.
All right, so I think that's enough for top stories here. We've certainly had plenty to talk about, but now it's time to get into our regular segments, starting, of course, with Top Shelf, our power rankings, where we look at the top teams in the NHL. This is always fun to do because it's great to talk about great teams. And we got top 5 teams in the league, again, using point percentage as our marker here of who's really the best and whatnot. So, man, it's the same same as far as who's on the list. However, we have a big switch at the top, which I have to say I did not see coming.
Okay. So I really felt that it would have been... I was pushing for Carolina to be that team.
Mm-hmm. Well.
And I think maybe you were more pushing of Colorado,
yeah,
to be that team.
Yep.
And even though we see the numbers are slightly what seems to be one more win for Colorado compared to Carolina, but
played more games.
So let's start at the bottom on this one here. We're talking about the
3,
top shelf
3,
power
4,
rankings.
and 5 are pretty much what they have been.
Haven't changed much.
No.
We've had a few changes at 5.
Yeah, a couple teams have hopped on, then hopped off. And
Exactly.
Then Toronto's hopped back on, and
You
Toronto's
know.
on there now.
Yeah, I
Toronto's
yeah,
5.
Toronto's 5.
Yeah.
And barely.
Yeah, they got some competition.
They're hanging on by a thread at 5, man, because let me tell you something here, folks. Calgary and the Rangers
both are close.
Are really close, man. Calgary is at .675, and the Rangers are at .664, and so is Pittsburgh.
Okay, Calgary's definitely within striking distance. See, they've been playing really well, so I'm not surprised there. Calgary actually just beat a team that's on this list that we're gonna be talking about in a minute. So Flames are really making that push to be one of the best teams in the league. But
exactly, and the fact that they have just exploded for the season that they are having, and the fact that the coaching change like halfway through the season last year was one of the most brilliant moves that Calgary could have made, because he had a chance to assess. See, that's what I was hoping that Philadelphia was going to do.
Yeah.
Like when they got rid of AV, I was kind of hoping that they would get rid of everybody.
Yep.
Right? And start fresh
and let them assess
exactly
for the second part of the year. Yeah.
Exactly. Right? And then have an off season and a full
training camp and yeah.
Yeah, hey, like I said, I can have wishful thinking, but that's what Calgary did.
Yeah, Daryl Sutter's been awesome for them.
Okay, and he had an opportunity. And look, the players that didn't fit the mold, that didn't buy into the system, guess what? They ain't there no more.
Mm-hmm.
And the players that are, and that have bought into the system, and look at what they are, man. They're a
first place team.
Goal differential plus 61, one of the highest in the league. Right, they have a goals against 140, one of the lower ones in the league. Right, they have one of the higher goals for at over 200 goals.
Yep.
Right, they are 35, 15, and 7. We just spent more time talking
and they're not even on this list. They're number 6.
I was gonna say we spent more time talking about a team that's not even on the list.
They're not on the list. Calgary's number 6. Number 5 is still the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Right.
37, 16, and 5 on the year. .681 point percentage this year for Toronto. I don't think... Well, they've got goaltending issues now. I'd say that's kind of starting to stand out here for the Maple Leafs.
They just announced now that Campbell is going to be out for at least the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
With a rib injury. He
hasn't even been playing well.
Well, they were saying, and now I read an article posted on NHL.com about him, and what the coach came out to say about him, and that he said he wasn't doing real good there for a day or two. Then he was feeling a little better, and they sent him off for tests and realized that he needed to have more time, and he was diagnosed with some kind of a rib injury, is all they're saying.
Yep.
He probably played with this injury, and that's why he wasn't playing real well. And then they sent him off for tests and whatever, and then came back and was like, hey, you should sit down now for a little while.
Yeah. It's crazy that with as bad as the Maple Leafs goaltending has been for the last month or so, that they're still this good. I think that's a testament to the goal-scoring ability, and Austin Matthews looks like he has a very good shot at winning the Rocket this year. It's up to 44 goals now, or
something like that.
He's ripping it up. This team's still finding ways to win, still finding ways to get points. They're still a top 5 team in the league, but again, it's wait and see come playoff time with Toronto, because it doesn't matter how well they do in the regular season. It's not going to be a successful year unless they can do something in the playoffs, and that remains to be seen. Well,
when you lose a tough one like they did to Arizona.
They've now lost to Arizona twice this year, which has been a reoccurring theme with them not playing well against bad teams and then actually playing well against the better teams.
Man, I have seen and heard that mantra so many times in another city for another team that we're not going to mention or talk about Philadelphia. But no, Toronto, number 5, losing that game to Arizona. That's what, their second loss to Arizona now.
Yeah, they've lost both times this year.
And now they're losing their number 1 goaltender for a period of time. Yeah, buddy, that just changed their whole outlook come trade deadline time, didn't it?
We'll see if they make a move for a goalie. It feels like they're almost going to be pushed into it.
Yeah, I believe.
Man, come playoff time, though, they're going to have an interesting decision to make come playoff time. I mean, do you trust Peter Mrazek to be your starting goalie in the playoffs?
I barely have a hard time trusting him to be a starting goalie just in the regular season, much less the playoffs.
He hasn't been great, and
nope.
Campbell hasn't been great, and no. Campbell was very good in the playoffs last year. Do you think he can do that again? You know, there's definitely questions here with the goaltending, and those really have come to the forefront over the last few weeks. But they're finding ways to win. I think, you know, that's a testament of how good of a team. Imagine if they had Igor Shesterkin in goal. How good would Toronto be if they had a goaltender like that? Somebody who's a legitimate, high-end, elite goaltender. Think of how good this team could be.
It's funny. Last year, everybody was like, oh, man, it's Toronto's defense. Not the best in the league. Oh, man, their goaltending. Well, not the best in the league. This year, all we're talking about now is goaltending. That's why they're winning, John, because they've made those improvements to those areas of where they were lacking last year. They're still lacking in some areas, but not significantly enough for them to lose games enough.
Yeah, they're not losing a lot of games, and I think that's the big thing, and that's why they're still a top 5 team in the league.
I mean, they've only lost 16 games so far this year out of 58 games that they've played.
Yeah.
Right? That's good. That's really good. They have a plus 41 goal differential, right? They're 5-3-2 in their last 10. You know what I mean? So
it's crazy. Everybody's talking about Toronto like they're falling off a cliff here. They're 5-3-2 in their last 10.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Right? That's 12 points out of a possible 20.
It's more than half of the points that you could get.
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but if you walk away with plus than, half of what you're supposed to get, that's a good thing in my book.
They're holding fine. I don't know. We'll see come playoff time. They're going to be fine in the regular season. I have no worries about this team going anywhere in the regular season. They're going to be fine. They're going to easily make the playoffs. They're probably going to stay in that 3rd spot in the division. I don't think Boston's going to catch them. I don't think Toronto's going to lose enough games for Bruins to catch them. I think they're probably going to stay right in that 3rd spot, and then it's going to be show me time when they get to the playoffs.
Well, Boston's not.
They're not that far back. I just don't see them catching them. Boston will have some bad losses at some point the rest of the way.
Yeah, but you know what, though?
I've watched too much of this Bruins team this year. I know what's coming. They're going to have some losses.
Okay.
They're going to have a few games where you're just like, what in the world are they doing?
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, though. Look here. If you look at all of the top, with the exception of the Central and the Pacific, okay? So the top teams in the East, right?
Yep.
Carolina, Rangers, Pittsburgh, Washington, all have less than 19 losses.
Yep.
You go to the Atlantic, the top 4 teams all have less than 20 losses.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You go to the Central and you have you have their top 4 teams all have either 20 losses or less.
Yep.
Okay. Now, the only one that's the oddball one is the Pacific, because you have Vegas and Edmonton both with 23 losses.
That division is the weakest one.
Right, and then you have Calgary with 15 and Los Angeles Kings with 19.
Yep.
So, Toronto, pretty darn good team.
Oh, very good team.
And the fact that they've continually come back to the top 5 ranking list is a testament to how they've been playing this year. And yes, they haven't been playing their very best. They had a couple of 4 or 5 game little stinker fest, but they're gonna play, and they're playing well. They're on the list. They're in the top 5. So there you have it, man. Toronto looking like one of the better teams. I think they're a better team than they were last year. And I really think
I do too.
Better team this year than what they were last year, and that's why I think they're winning more games and winning them in the way they're winning them.
Yeah, I think they've got a better chance to actually win in the playoffs this year than last year.
Yeah, I
do
too.
But I still don't trust them because I have no reason to trust them in the playoffs.
Right.
But
and every time you do trust them, they let you down.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
They're great in the regular season. They're gonna continue being great in the regular season. It's just they've got to show something in the postseason. It's been too many years now where they've been out right away.
Exactly.
They've got to show something in the postseason.
And they are going to need Mr. Campbell to be healthy when that time comes.
I feel like Campbell's got a better chance to take him somewhere than Mrazek, but
not all the way, though.
No, I mean, I just think there's better goaltenders out there. I don't think they're going to get that elite level goaltending that it takes to go that far in the playoffs.
Okay.
Unless one of those guys gets really hot, but I just see too many issues with them.
I get you.
Giving up bad goals, and
it happens.
It's not consistent enough. It's not consistent.
That's pretty sad that we're talking about the number 5 top team in the league as being, they're not consistent enough, and they got goaltending issues, and they got this, and they got that. But hey, they're the number 5 top team in the league at .681%.
I think every team in the league has issues this year.
Oh, of course they do.
I don't think there's one team that I look at and say that there's not some sort of question mark with them.
Maybe one. Maybe one.
I have questions about every team. But number 4 is the Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending champions.
We don't have questions about that team about? Goaltending.
Yeah, normally he stunk his past 2 games. But,
I know, but...
Vasilevsky's going to be fine. Tampa's still a top 5 team. They're 37-14-6 on the year. 702 point percentage this season. Right there, second place, fighting for first place in the division. Very, very good team once again. Certainly don't have the depth that they did last year or the year before, which there's my big question about Tampa Bay is, do they have the depth to survive 4 rounds of playoffs again, which I certainly question. But they continue to roll along in the regular season. And they've been playing well. They've been winning games. And it's the same old with Tampa. This team just never seems to quit. Although, they've lost 2 in a row, but they're still 7-3-0 in their last 10.
So let's throw this out here for you. So I know what you mean by the fact that they have less depth than they did last year because of some roster moves and trades, and
you just can't keep everybody.
You can't keep everybody because once you win the cup,
everybody wants that money.
Everybody wants the money, and then there's a whole boatload of teams out there that are like, "Hey, you just won a Stanley Cup? We'll pay you."
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, "All right, cool. I just won a Stanley Cup with this team. And this guy wants to pay me a whole crap load of money. I'm going over here."
Yep.
So but let me just say this. Yeah, they may not have the depth, quote unquote, to go long in the playoffs, yet they've missed players this year, significant players, for significant amounts of time this year, and yet they still win. They still keep putting the W's in the W column. Okay? And it doesn't seem to really matter who the opposition is. Okay, so, they may not have the same depth, air quotes, as they did last year, or even the year before that. But I think that they're depth that they do have is maybe at the same level, or to the point where you don't notice it as much, or
Well, we're going to find that out in the playoffs if they are able to
that's
go
true.
as far.
That's true, because so far it just seems like they're still able to win games.
In the regular season, no doubt.
Right.
They're having no issues in the regular season. Now when they have to play a 7-game series against a really good team, are those issues going to start to show themselves a little bit?
That's going to be the key
That's
point.
the big key come playoff time with Tampa. But in the regular season, they're still, they're elite. They're absolutely elite.
Yeah. I agree. One of the elite teams that you just can't argue with that at all. You know what I'm saying? So, man, I'll tell you what. Here it comes. Now we're getting into the top 3.
Yep.
And the top 3 are the number 3 team. Yeah. Ha! The number 3 team on the Top Shelf Power Rankings list is your favorite, more my favorite than your favorite, the Florida Panthers, 41-13-5 at 0.733%. Now, let me just say this first, John, because I have actually watched a lot of the Florida Panther games this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And this team is legit.
Oh, yeah. They're a top 3 team in the league for a reason.
Now, last year, and we talk about exactly what we talked about with Tampa Bay is depth, right? And over the last 2 seasons, Tampa Bay has been able to continually roll guys throughout the lineup. It didn't matter who missed. They were still able to roll guys through the lineup and still be able to win, and they produced 2 Stanley Cups.
Yep.
Okay? I think that Florida learned their lesson from last year and are a much improved team, not just offensively, but defensively and also in goal. Bobrovsky has become back full circle to the old Bob of old, or the Bob of old, back to his Vezina level self. He's had some stinkers. He's had a couple games here and there, but for the most part, Bob has played pretty darn good.
That's the key right there.
Exactly.
Sergei Bobrovsky. This Florida Panthers team is good enough when they're playing at their best to win the Stanley Cup. If this Florida team can't keep the puck out of their net, they're going to be out in the first round again.
Exactly. They learned their mistakes from last season, and I believe they have made the changes, and they might be one of the teams too in the trade deadline that makes a move.
I still think they could use another defenseman.
Yeah.
I think they could really use another defenseman. Knock Lucas Carlson down a notch. Knock Brandon Montour down a notch. They could use one more D-man. Sergei Bobrovsky's going to determine how far this team goes. They have probably the best offense in the league.
I agree.
Their forward depth is absolutely unmatched. There's not another team in the league that can put out as many scores and as many scoring lines as the Florida Panthers can. They have guys who are being healthy scratched who would be third liners on other teams.
Oh, let me throw something at you here, okay? Check this out. Florida's goals for it's 243.
Oh boy, wow. Yeah,
right?
They've scored a lot.
Okay, Carolina's only at 193.
They're a much more defensive team.
Tampa Bay's only at 197.
I'm a little surprised by that. I thought Tampa would be higher.
Now, Colorado's at 230, and St. Louis is at 204, and Minnesota is at 214.
Those are your high-scoring teams right there.
And Calgary at 201.
Yep.
But
Carolina's Florida.
Florida
is
so far ahead.
They're the best offense in the league. There's no doubt. They're the best offense in the league. But they're only going to go as far in the playoffs as Sergei Bobrovsky allows them to go.
And I'm here to tell you, he has been playing.
He's been a lot better this year. A lot
very
better.
well. he's a much improved player from last year. That's for sure.
I agree. This Florida team is a better team than they were last year.
All day long. Look, Bob is sporting a .917 save percentage, and he's only got a 2.57 GAA. Okay?
That's much better than the last 2 years for him.
That's way much better.
But he's got to do it in the playoffs. If he gives up 5 goals a game like he did in the playoffs last year, they're done.
Yeah, you can't be having that kind of wretched, ugly, you know what I mean?
In some ways they're a lot like Toronto. They have offense, they can score. I think their offense is overall a lot deeper than Toronto's, because Toronto is so reliant on those top guys to do all the scoring, whereas Florida has just a whole team of scoring. But they're only going to go as far as their goaltending can take them.
Yeah, but I would still much rather have Bob back here backstopping.
I would too. I certainly
than anybody in Toronto.
I certainly think that Bobrovsky has a lot better potential than any of the goalies that Toronto has, but Bobrovsky the past 2 years has not been good. If he reverts back to that in the playoffs, there you could be in big trouble. That's my one big question with Florida.
You know, I don't think it's look. Well, you know, you can speculate all you want, but I think he had a bit of a heart not in it for a couple of years there or something, and he just wasn't playing where he should have been playing. And now I think he's bought in, or that he's now, you know, part of what's going on now in Florida. He's completely bought in 110% now, and you know, whatever the case is. I don't know.
For the Panthers' sake, I hope so, because they could be a team that could go really, really far if they get the goaltending.
And they have it. They do have it. They have a goalie tandem right now on the roster with Bobrovsky and Knight, and then the rest of the team defensively and offensively, their power play, their penalty kill. This team very easily could win the Stanley Cup.
I think their talent level, absolutely. I want to see it. I want to see that playoff success. I got to see it in the playoffs. The team that hasn't won a playoff series since the year I was born.
Yeah, you win a playoff series and then you'll show me something then, right?
Exactly. It's a similar feeling to how I feel about Toronto. I mean, I was in elementary school the last time Toronto won a playoff series. The last time Florida won a playoff series, I wasn't even born yet. It was 1996. Wow. I wasn't even born yet because I was born in 96, but my birthday's after hockey season ends. So,
your parents timed that one pretty good, didn't they?
I've literally never been alive to see a Florida Panthers win a playoff series.
So your parents sure timed that one pretty good, didn't they?
Yeah, as good as they are in the regular season.
Yeah.
I got to see it in the playoffs.
Got to see it in the playoffs. And we saw what happened to them in the playoffs last year.
It wasn't good. Tampa was a better team.
So
better prepared.
Is that the Tampa Bay Columbus comparison from a couple of years ago when Tampa Bay was the number 1 seed and Columbus came in and punched him in the mouth and made him bleed? Right? And then they realized, oh, wait a minute, and they lost to Columbus, and then they realized, hey, we need to get guys in there that can punch back.
Florida has plenty of that. They're a
That's
tough
what
team.
I mean.
They have plenty of that.
They got plenty of that.
It's do they, did they learn from that, and do they now take that next step? That's going to be the big thing.
I think they did.
I
because
hope
of the
so,
moves they made.
I love watching this team, so I hope they did. I'd love to see them go to the finals. Or at least conference finals. I love watching this Florida team. I hope they did learn it, but
I do too. Hey, look, man, like I told you, I've been specifically watching Florida games, Colorado games, Kraken games. You know what I mean? I'm trying to watch these teams because, man, I really like Florida. I really like what they're doing there, and I really like Huberdeau as one of my players that I like to watch. So, speaking of another team that I really love watching and another team that I've been trying to watch as many games as I can is the Colorado Avalanche. And they are the number 2 team on our top shelf power rankings.
There's our big flip right there. Colorado's been 1 for weeks.
Yep. And now they are not the big dog any longer.
41, 13, and 5, 737 point percentage. Number 2 in the NHL. They have been passed. They've been losing a decent amount recently. I don't think they're getting to 60 wins anymore. I was saying for a while they were going to get to 60. I don't think so now. Let's see, they've played 59 games. They have 41 wins, and their record in their last 10, 5, 4, and 1. It's starting to creep back more towards 500.
Okay, so here's the thing.
They need 19 more wins to get to 60. I don't think it's happening.
And they have 27, 28 more games, something stupid like that.
23.
23 more games.
They have 59 played. They have 23 to go.
Okay.
They'd have to win 19 out of 23. I don't see that happening.
So you think that's more going to be the other team?
I don't know if anybody's getting a 60 now. Because Colorado was the team that I thought was getting to 60, and they're not. I mean, they'd have to win 19 out of 23 games, and only 5-4-0 in their last 10, or 5-4-1 in their last.
Yeah,
10.
I know. But see,
I don't see them winning 19 out of 23.
All right, see, I was thinking Carolina was going to be the one that was going to go.
Well, they're at 40 right now through 57 games.
Yeah.
So they have 25 games left? Yeah, 25 games left to get to 82. And they need 20 wins. So they have to win 20 out of 25.
Well, they're 40 out of, or they've won 40 and only have lost 12.
And 5 OT.
And 5 OT, so
they're 8-1-1 in
that
their
could
last
work.
10 games. Maybe.
That could work.
I don't think we probably won't see 60 wins, but maybe. Carolina, I feel like now has a better shot than Colorado. But I wouldn't be surprised if neither of them hit 60.
Do you know what? You might even actually have to throw Florida in there, too.
40 wins through, what's Florida played?
58 games.
So they have...
One more game.
22 remaining. No, 24.
Right. 24, but they're 7-3-0 in their last 10.
Yep. So they would need 20 wins in the remaining 24 games. Yeah, that's still...
That's a tough ass.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
All right. Oh, hey, we thought we were going to maybe see it.
Yeah, I thought Colorado had the best chance, but their losing streak has really hurt.
Yeah. I mean, they're at 13 losses now still. I mean,
they were at like 10, and they've lost...
Well, they were actually at 8 for how long?
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
How many in a row have they lost now? They've lost 2 straight in regulation, but they've lost
2.
They've only won 5 out of their last 10 games. So.
Yeah, 5-4-1. So.
Yeah,
well.
I think Colorado's kind of blown their chance at that many wins, but I still think they're number 2 in the league. So it's not like they're dropping in the standings, really.
You know.
But Carolina's taken over the one spot. Carolina's the one spot now with 40, 12, and 5 on the year with a 7.46 point percentage.
I've been watching a lot more of these guys too, and I've got to see them twice live.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got to see Washington, and now I'm seeing Carolina now. And man, this team is just like, look, I know you were talking about how you feel that each team has certain things that they can improve on, that each team has certain things that are maybe flaws or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell you something, man. I have a hard time finding anything here with Carolina. I really have a hard time. They maybe tend to...
I think they're susceptible.
Take penalties.
I think they're susceptible to just not scoring enough. I think their offense can go dry.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
If they're facing a high-end team, they can't afford for the offense to go dry.
Exactly, and they're not exactly, like, blowing it up on the goals for side either.
They're a very defensive team. Like, they're one of the best teams in the league defensively, maybe actually the best. I haven't checked goals against per game recently, but they're easily a top 3 defensive team in the league. But the goals for, they're not a high-scoring team. They're not going to run and gun with Florida. Like, if they have to play Florida in the conference final, you can't be playing 5-4 games because Florida will win that battle. They got to keep it like 3-2.
Okay, but goals against, man, Carolina.
Oh, they're unreal. They're absolutely unreal goals against wise.
Yeah, they're like 16, 20, a lot more. Like they're at 134. The New York Rangers at 150.
Yeah, no, the Carolina's defense is unbelievable. I just worry about the goal scoring not being enough. Because when you start playing, when you get into playoff series, especially deep into the playoffs against elite level opponents, you're not going to hold them to 1 goal a game. I don't care how good your defense is, you're not going to be able to consistently hold them to 1 goal a game. You've got to find a way to score. And I think with Carolina, I worry. That's my worry with them is, does the offense go dry at a really bad time against a team like Tampa or against a team like Florida? Do they end up losing a game 4-3 in overtime and it ends up costing them a series because they just can't put the puck in the net at the same level?
Now let me throw some stuff at you here now, okay? Carolina goals for 193.
Yep.
That's 8th best in the league. Minnesota, Calgary, St. Louis, and Tampa all have better goals for. I mean, they all do.
Yeah.
Florida has 243, but the fact that Minnesota, Calgary, St. Louis,
yep.
I mean, those are teams that not even are on the top 5, and they are. I mean, St. Louis has 201, Calgary has 201. Yeah. And Carolina only 193.
Yeah. Well, they're scoring. They have the 8th best, statistically the 8th best offense in the league. A lot of it comes from their power play, though. Over 25% on the power play. So a lot of their offense comes from the power play. You could say that about, the other teams that are high scoring all have good power plays as well, with the exception of Minnesota, which is only at 20%. But
yeah.
The other high scoring teams have very good power plays, like 23% or more. Carolina is the best defensive team by a bit. 2.35 goals against per game is best in the league. Calgary is second best at 2.46 against per game.
Right, and it's only fitting that
I don't know. I guess that's my one question with Carolina is, are they going to be able to score enough goals against a team like Florida or against a team like Tampa Bay to really go that far? One thing that could let them down, I think it's that. I don't see the defense losing. I don't see the defense being a problem. I think if they lose in the playoffs, it's going to be because the offense lets them down.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be the biggest thing here with Carolina. Okay, do they still have one of the best teams in the league? Yeah, man, they're the number 1 in our top shelf power rankings. They have the best team in the
league right now.
But they only have the 8th best offense. Okay, so room for improvement there for sure. But, and the fact that they've overtaken Colorado now shows.
I didn't see that coming.
I didn't either.
I didn't think anybody was going to get ahead of Colorado. But they have. Colorado's dipped a little bit, and Carolina's taken full advantage of it. And
kudos to them. And you know what? I like watching Carolina, and I like watching Colorado. So either way you slice it, it's a win-win for me.
Yeah. All right, so there's our top shelf power rankings. We just spent like 35 minutes on that. But wow. Number 5 in the league, Toronto Maple Leafs. Number 4, Tampa Bay. Number 3, the Florida Panthers. Number 2, Colorado Avalanche. And our new number 1 with a .746 point percentage, the Carolina Hurricanes have taken over the top spot in the NHL. And their fantastic season continues. Next up, we got to look back on the best game of last week. And we'll obviously do this quickly here. Best game from this past week. There were some good ones. There was a lot of great action. Steele, I'll let you go first.
Okay.
What was your favorite, or what do you think was the best game from this
past week?
Well,
I'm going to go with the Arizona-Toronto game from last night.
lot of talk about that one.
Well, first of all, the fact that Arizona goes up 3 goals early, right? Like, it was like, whoa. All right, I guess Arizona's coming to play tonight.
They have been recently too.
They have been.
They've been playing great.
They have this uncanny knack to stretch teams to make them work for the win.
Yep.
You don't just get to roll over Arizona. You actually have to work for it a little bit.
100%.
Right? So Toronto didn't come to work for it. Arizona goes up 3 early, then Toronto scores, right? And then Arizona goes up 4-1, and you were like, all right. And then in the third period, Toronto just said, yeah, no, hold my beer.
Yeah.
And rattled off 3 goals, right? Just like that, and tied the score up. Then we had the controversial play that happened, and it allowed Arizona to
the no call
score the goal. The no call that didn't happen that allowed Arizona to score the goal and win the game in overtime. But this game was chippy. There were big hits. There were after whistle scuffles. This was a good hockey game, folks. I'm not kidding you here, man. I'm not Arizona and Toronto, like, you wouldn't expect that, but this was a good hockey game.
Yeah, definitely. That looked like a fun one. My best game from this past week came from the night before, Wednesday night, Washington versus Edmonton. Man, what a game this turned into.
That was a game you guys called, too, man.
Yes. Edmonton ends up winning in overtime. It was a back-and-forth game. TJ Oshie tied the game with 1.8 seconds to go. Miracle goal from Oshie at the end. It looked like Edmonton was going to win that in regulation. And then Oshie ties it up with less than 2 seconds left. It was crazy. We had a no call in that game as well. It looked like Alex Ovechkin was pretty clearly hooking Zach Hyman.
Clearly.
The referee doesn't call it. It would have been an empty net goal for Zach Hyman, which would have iced the game for the Oilers.
Yep.
Then the Capitals come back down the ice the other way. They end up tying the game. Almost cost the Oilers a point, but Edmonton did end up winning. And, of course, who scores the game-winning goal? Connor McDavid. So, incredibly fun, high-paced, back-and-forth game. The Stars showed up. McDavid had a great game for Edmonton. It was just a lot of fun to watch, and obviously the crazy ending to it made it even better. So that was my best game from this past week.
Well, plus the fact that you got to call the game with the great Pearl of Wisdom.
That as well was a lot of fun.
I mean, God, and you also had over 3,000 people come and watch us. Look, hey, you go, John, you go. There you go, man. Our best games of last week. John picked the Washington-Edmonton game that he called with Pearl of Wisdom on the 9th. And I picked the Arizona-Toronto game, which was the no-call game on the 10th. And now that moves us into another section that we very much like. And it is our 3 stars of the week.
Yes.
Now, the NHL releases their 3 stars on Monday.
Yep.
We do ours on Friday.
So our weeks are different, yes.
Right. And so therefore our players will be different. And even between us, sometimes the players can be different.
Yep.
And that's the case, it seems like, this week.
Yes.
So how about if we start with John? Why don't you start with your 3 stars of the week? Go from number 3 to number 1.
Number 3, Patrick Kane from the Chicago Blackhawks. 4 games played this past week. 2 goals, 8 assists for Patrick Kane. 10 points, +7 rating. All 10 points coming at even strength. And a 2.5 point per game pace here over this past week for Patty Kane and the Blackhawks.
Well,
all in all, had a pretty solid week, at least by their standards this week. So he's number 3 on the list. Number 2, UC Saros. I love getting goalies on here when I can. So UC Saros from the Nashville Predators, 3-0-0 this past week in the 3 games that he started. 972 save percentage and a 0.67 goals against average.
Wow.
1 shutout, and he stopped 69 out of 71 shots faced. So one of the games was a shutout. The other 2, he only gave up 1 goal against in. It was a great week for UC Saros in goal and great for my fantasy team as well.
There you go.
And number one, and this to me was obvious. This guy, I cannot believe the point production here.
Yeah.
This is like on another worldly level. Nick Schmaltz from the Arizona Coyotes. We talk about the week that Arizona had, scoring a massive amount of goals this week. 3 games played for Nick Schmaltz, 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points in 3 games, plus 11. 10 of those goals, or 10 of those points, coming even strength. 2 of them on the power play. 4 points per game for Schmaltz this past week. Absolutely absurd. And he is my number 1 star of the week.
Jeez, man. That's holy moly. Oh, my gosh. My 3 stars might even pale to comparison unless I have some of the same guys listed, but we will see. Unfortunately, number 3 for me is not the same for you. I went with a player from Tampa Bay Lightning, and that is Alexander Barkov. In 4 games played, he has 1 goal, but wait for it, 9 assists.
Wow.
That's 10 points in 4 games. He's a +5. He's got 1 power play goal and 5 power play points. Okay? So that means that he's getting points also on even strength as well as the power play. Okay? He's only playing 19 and a half minutes a game. So, I mean, that's getting it done, folks. Alexander Barkov just ripping it off, doing it well. 10 points in 4 games.
Yeah, wow. You wanna know why the team's so good? Well, there's one reason right there.
Ooh, doggies. All right. Your number 3 star was my number 2 star. Mm-hmm. I didn't get a chance to put a goalie in this week because I saw that you had one, but I couldn't not ignore what I saw when I opened up this list today. And Patrick Kane, Chicago, 4 games played, 2 goals, 8 assists for 10 points. He's a +7. We've already talked about him already. You mentioned him. You know him. You love him. He's Patrick Kane from Chicago. He's 21 and a half minutes of ice time, 2.50 points per game. Do I need to say any more?
No.
Right, we're done, right? Okay. And then, of course, the number 1 player of the week is exactly the same player that John has, and that is Nick from Arizona. Schmaltz had 3 games played, 4 goals, 8 assists. That's right, folks. You heard me. 4 goals, 8 assists in 4 piddly games for 12 points. Plus 11, 10 even strength, 2 power play points, 19 minutes of ice time. Number 1 star. Can you say number 1 star, Nick Schmaltz?
Number 1 star, Nick Schmaltz.
See, look at how easy that was. He was the number 1 star. Patrick Kane for me, number 2, and Alexander Barkov, number 3 for my 3 stars of the week.
All right, there we go. There's 3 stars. Now it's time for hottest and coldest teams, and looking at the teams that are playing really, really well right now, and the teams that are not. We like to start with the positive, so we'll go hottest first. So let's get into it here. 3, 2, 1. Hottest teams in the NHL.
All right. John does his a little differently than I do mine. John looks at their last 10 games. And I look at their win streaks within the last 10 games, or whatever those streaks are. It doesn't necessarily maybe have to be in the last 10 games, but I like to look at the streaks, and John looks at the last 10 games. Either way you slice it, we still get a pretty good representation of some of the hottest teams in the league, and of course the negative side, some of the coldest teams in the league. So for me this week, unfortunately, Carolina is on the cold list, or the hot list, I'm sorry. Number 3, Carolina. They've won 3 in a row. How could you not put Carolina on the list? They're one of the top teams in the league. What? But yeah, 3 games in a row, for sure. All right. Are you sitting down?
Yes.
Are you braced?
I know what's coming.
Are you locked in?
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
I think it's the first time this year.
And last.
Most likely.
They didn't even make the list last year at all.
Yeah.
Not this list. Or this side of the list.
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't. Not this side of the list.
No, not this side. They definitely are permanent residents on the other side of this list.
Not this week.
Not this week, folks. We're talking about the Arizona Coyotes. That's right. I said Arizona Coyotes as one of the hottest teams in the league. They have just won 4 in a row. They haven't won 4 in a row since 2019 or something.
Wow.
Something stupid crazy like that, right? Like that's just really 4 games in a row. All right. Arizona counts as one of the hottest teams when you win 4 games in a row. Okay, congratulations. That's right, folks. I said Arizona Coyotes, number 2 hottest team in the league. All right, I can't believe I just said that. All right, wake up. All right, so number 1 for me is, of course, your favorite and my favorite. That is right, folks, the Florida Panthers with 5 games, 1 in a row. This team just gets better, keeps rolling. What else do you need to say about this team? I think they might make a move at the deadline. It's going to be interesting to see how that's going to work out. But man, Florida, just one of the elite teams. They're ranked number 3 in our power rankings. I got Florida here with 5 wins in a row. That's my hottest teams in the league: Carolina, Arizona, and Florida.
All right, for me at number 3, we have the Vancouver Canucks, who are 8-2-0 in their last 10 games. They've won 3 straight, and boy, are they pushing for a playoff spot.
Sure
If you're
are.
in the Pacific Division, watch out, because the Vancouver Canucks are coming, and they're trying to take a jump ahead of those teams in front of them, including Edmonton, in Vegas, particularly those two. Vancouver is right on your heels. So Vancouver's playing great right now. They've won 8 out of 10. They're number 3. Number 2, we have the Boston Bruins. I can't believe it. 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. Now, they did lose in overtime to LA earlier in the week, but they bounced back with a win last night against Chicago. 8-1-1 in the last 10 games for the Boston Bruins. They're number 2 on the list, and that leaves number 1 also 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. However, on a 3-game winning streak, the Carolina Hurricanes, hottest team in the league. Only 1 regulation loss, 8 out of 10, 3 straight winnings for Carolina. And this team has taken over the top spot in the NHL as point percentage-wise as the best team in the league. So Carolina Hurricanes number 1 for me.
I mean, I don't feel bad that I had them at number 3 because they've only won 3 games in a row, and I put them below Arizona. Yes, I just said that. Yes, I just said that. So, man, I like your top 3 too. Either way, slice it. I think we got a pretty good feel of who are some of the top teams in the league, and now we have to go to the bad side of this, the cold side of this, the coldest teams in the league. And as we said before, John has a bit of a different way of doing things as far as how he arrives at his coldest teams than what I do. And so, John, why don't you give us your 3 coldest teams, starting with number 3 first.
Detroit Red Wings, 3-6-1 in their last 10 games. Now, they lost their last one out in overtime. They got hammered by Arizona the game before that, like absolutely blown out of the building.
Yeah, right.
But only 3 wins out of 10 games. That's not very good. So Detroit's at number 3. Chicago Blackhawks, they are 3-6-1 in their last 10 as well. They lost their last game out to said Boston Bruins, who are on the hot list.
Yep.
And again, for Chicago, 3 wins out of their last 10 games. That's not very good, and that's near the bottom of the league as far as last 10 go. But that doesn't leave them at number 1. They are not the worst. And that is because the worst are the Seattle Kraken. The Seattle Kraken are the coldest team in the NHL right now with only 1 win in their last 10 games. 1-7-2, and last game out they lost in overtime, so they were able to force overtime against Ottawa, but they still only have one win in their last 10 games, and that makes them the coldest team, to me, in the NHL.
I mean, I can't even argue that. Because I'm going to try, though. My number 3 coldest team is one of the better teams in the league, but they've lost 2 in a row, and that's New York Rangers.
Yeah.
Now, I normally don't look at their last 10 games, but the New York Rangers are 5-4-1. They need to be playing a little bit better and not losing 2 in a row for sure.
How many? There's a lot of teams that have lost 2 in a row.
Yeah, I just picked.
Mm-hmm.
You could have gone with anybody from Colorado, Tampa Bay, Columbus, Vegas, Anaheim, but I picked the teams that were a surprise.
Yeah.
New York Rangers, kind of a surprise on this list.
All 3 of these teams on your list, I'm surprised.
Thank you. Tampa Bay, number 2. Yes, I know they are 7-3-0 in their last 10 games, but they've lost 2 in a row. I'm not really sweating that at all. But, when you lose that many games in a row, you end up on the cold list. Sorry, I just go by the wins and losses. I don't go by records over the last 10, although if I did, I'd probably have the same list as Sean. True. My number 1 coldest team is from said coldest area, and that's Colorado.
Yep.
Look, they only are 5-4-1 in their last 10, but I go by the number of games. And as I said, there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams all tied with 2 losses. Okay, so I could have picked any one of them, but I picked the surprise ones because, seriously, Colorado, Tampa Bay, and New York Rangers should not be losing that many games in a row at any one point in time. And the fact that they are and have and did, all right, I'm scratching my head a little bit then. So there you go.
Okay. All right, so there's our hottest and now coldest teams in the NHL. Time to have some fun now. We got game picks coming up for tomorrow's matchup, Saturday, March 12th. We'll lightning round this because we are getting short on time here, so we'll go through this pretty quickly, but we got a whole bunch of games tomorrow that we're going to be just trying to see if we can correctly pick who's going to win. So.
Well, I'll tell you what. So for the year,
yep.
John, you are 101 for 62.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's pretty darn good. Right?
Yeah.
You're 101 for 62. That's pretty good.
Yep.
I am 102 for 62. So I have one more win than you, and we both have the same number of losses. So you're at 101, 62, and I am 102 and 62. This past week, you were 5 for 5. I was 4 for 6. Okay. So we took kind of a bath this past week. Wasn't one of our best weeks.
Not as bad as that week where we only got like 2 right, though.
Right. Okay. But not nearly as good as when I went perfect and you only missed the 1.
Yeah.
Right?
We should hopefully be better this week.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, so let's get into it here. These are for the games that are matched up for all the games that are on for the 12th of March. That is this coming Saturday. So our first game on the docket is St. Louis versus Nashville in Nashville.
What a game to start with there. Holy cow. Huge divisional matchup.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm going to go St. Louis. I don't really know why. I'm just going to go St. Louis. Both of these teams have been a little bit shaky recently, but did win last night. So they've both gotten back on track. That to me is a toss-up game. I'm just going to go St. Louis.
Even though it's in Nashville, I also agree.
Yeah.
Because I just think St. Louis seems to maybe have Nashville's number. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe finding out come playoff time.
Maybe for this game is what I'm thinking. I just feel St. Louis more so on this one than I do Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, that's a toss-up game to me. I'm just gonna pick one and flip a coin.
Yeah, it's a coin flip game. I'm with you on that one for sure. Okay, this next one probably not so much. Philadelphia at Carolina.
Carolina. Much better team.
This is the ABC sponsored game.
That's
ESPN.
tomorrow afternoon. That's on ABC.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So
national TV again.
All right,
for the
Philly
Flyers.
gets to lose in front of the entire national audience.
They won this past week. They beat Chicago.
Wow.
That was national.
All right.
That was national TV. That was a great game, actually.
It was a great game too. Yeah, but we're talking about Carolina here.
Yeah, this one probably isn't going to go the same.
And then the other game they played was in front of the regular audience. There was against Florida, and that didn't go so well either.
Yeah.
So you tell me what.
We'll see.
Carolina all day on that.
Carolina, yeah.
Okay, Detroit versus Calgary in Calgary. Yeah, that's easy.
One of the best teams in the West.
Yep. That's what I have to say. Can't disagree with that one little tiny bit. Calgary, one of the best teams. Here we go, man. Arizona at Boston.
I am scared about this game because the Coyotes.
You should be.
The Coyotes are on a 4-game winning streak and they are playing really, really well. But the Bruins cannot lose this game. They cannot. They got to get the 2 points here. I'm going Boston. This is a team that they need to beat. But I am scared about this game because Arizona is playing very, very well.
Is Boston missing anybody?
Grzelcyk still... I don't know. Grzelcyk might be able to play. He was out Thursday, though. So Grzelcyk's a question mark. Other than that, the lineup's pretty much intact.
Oh, man. I'm with you on that coin flip. But I'm still going to have to go with Boston. Because Boston's a better team.
Yeah. Arizona's scary with the way they're playing, though.
If they beat Boston, well, then, hey.
That'd be 5 straight for the Coyotes.
Gosh, I don't think they've won 5 straight since, well, I don't know.
I don't even know.
All right, Seattle versus Montreal in Montreal.
Montreal playing much better under Marty St. Louis.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that. I'd like to pick Seattle, but I just can't. Chicago versus Ottawa in Ottawa.
I'll go Ottawa. They find a way to pull some wins out from time to time. They're a hard-working team, so I'll take Ottawa.
And they are at home too. I have to go with that as well.
Yep.
Because I was gonna pick Chicago, but only if Chicago was playing at home.
Yeah.
And it's not. They're playing in Ottawa, so
True.
no. Okay, so Anaheim versus New Jersey Devils in New Jersey.
New Jersey Devils. The Anaheim Ducks are a massive disappointment recently. They were great the first half of the year. They've completely stunk since. They're in a fight to even stay in playoff contention. You think that they'd play with some heart and some energy and play like they're in a fight for their playoff lives. What I saw on Thursday night from them last night against Nashville was downright embarrassing. They didn't even look like they wanted to be there. And if they bring that against the Devils, they are done. I'm taking New Jersey because Anaheim does not look like a team that wants to win right now.
Wow. Well, I didn't get privileged enough to watch that, so I think Anaheim is a better team.
They are. Well, they should be a better team, but they looked awful last night.
I'm going with Anaheim on this one. I haven't lost faith yet, but I didn't see the game in question that you spoke of last evening, or the evening before, or whatever. I haven't not seen that one, but I have watched a few Anaheim games, and I like what they're doing. So I'll agree to disagree on this next one, and I'll take Anaheim, and you have New Jersey.
Perfect.
All right, there you go. New York Rangers versus Dallas. In Dallas.
Well, the Rangers are 0-2 on their road trip so far.
Right.
They can't go 0-3. They're too good a team to go 0-3. I'm going to take the Rangers. They can't lose all of these road games. There's no way. They're too good for that.
Well, let's see. I wanted to see if they were playing tonight, but they're not. So
they are not. No, neither of these teams play tonight.
And you picked the Rangers?
Yeah, I got the Rangers in that one.
And as much as I want to pick Dallas, especially with the new deal for Pavelski, especially with them playing in Dallas. It's so hard because I think New York is just going to be the better team, so I have to go with New York.
Yep.
LA Kings versus the Sharks.
Well, LA just lost to the Sharks last night. They cannot afford to do that again. They're a much better team than the Sharks, so I'm going to take the Kings this time. They can't lose to the Sharks twice in 1 week. No way.
John, I'm going to do this, man, because I can't do it the other way, so I have to do it this way. we all know what's going on with me in Seattle, so no. Even though I really think they might be, or I'm saying San Jose, I really think that San Jose might have a shot at this one. I just do, because they're playing in San Jose.
LA can't afford 2 bad losses.
I know, but that's why I'm picking them to win, hoping that they prove me wrong.
All right.
That's so. Last game is Tampa Bay versus Edmonton.
That'll be a good game.
Yeah, buddy.
I think Tampa breaks the losing streak.
Yeah.
Tampa breaks the losing streak and wins. Might be an overtime game, though.
I don't think it's going to even be that. I think Tampa Bay is going to take these guys to school. That's why I picked Tampa Bay on this one.
All right, so we're both riding Tampa in Edmonton.
Yeah, buddy. There you go. So there was our game picks for this coming Saturday.
Yes. All right, time now for our game of the week. Best game from this upcoming week of NHL action. Well, it's going to be quite a weekend because we both picked games from this weekend. So, Steele, if you want to go.
Well, the aforementioned St. Louis versus Nashville game. I mean, these are two teams fighting for position here.
That's a huge game.
And that is a huge game because this is a big-time divisional game, okay? And I'm going to tell you something here, folks. St. Louis holding down second place and Nashville trying to come. Mm-hmm. Nashville has 70. St. Louis has 73 points. Minnesota squeezed in the middle there at 71. But if they win this game, they could potentially pass Minnesota and be third place.
That is correct.
Nashville and only 1 point behind St. Louis.
Yep. This is a huge game.
I agree, because this here is all for seeding and positioning in the division, and I think this is going to be this is must-watch TV right here. Of course, along with what John picks.
So my game of the week is from Sunday night, Calgary against Colorado. Top 2 teams in the Western Conference, and they just played last weekend, too. And last weekend, the game went to overtime. It was a 4-3 win for the Calgary Flames. And it was a back-and-forth game. It was, it looked like the 2 best teams in the West going at it. So I'm expecting more of the same this time around. I expect it to be a very hard-fought, close game. Now, as we've talked about, Colorado's been slipping recently. So they're going to really have that sense of urgency and that chip on their shoulder to really get things back on track. Calgary has been climbing in the standings. They're the best team in the Pacific. They're pushing hard, so expect a playoff-type performance from them. I think this has all the making to be a fantastic hockey game between 2 excellent teams, and maybe, just maybe, a Western Conference final preview, potentially.
Ooh, well, there you go. I mean, either way you slice it, Calgary and Colorado are going to meet up somewhere in the playoffs. I don't know. I just think that's going to have to happen.
It would be the conference finals.
Right.
They both make it that far.
There you go.
I think there's a definite chance.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that for sure. And now we come to the last segment of the show, and this is another really fun segment that we like to do because we get to talk about the prospects, and that is the Prospect Watch. And this is a chance where we get to name a player who either has been drafted or hasn't been drafted or has either been playing in the juniors or been playing up in the AHL or has maybe even gotten a call up but has been drafted within the last few years. Okay? So, John, who is on your prospect watch list for this week?
So my prospect watch for this week is Carter Mazur, a left wing who's 19 years old. He's 6 foot tall, 170 pounds, drafted in the 3rd round, 70th overall in 2021 by the Detroit Red Wings. Currently playing at Denver University in the NCAA. 34 games played this year, 13 goals, 19 assists, 32 points, and a plus 19 rating. Plus 19 rating for Carter Mazur. Really solid year for him in college hockey, having a great season. Really solid all-around player, brings a lot to the table defensively, which you don't always get with young players. A lot of the young players tend to be more flashy offensive guys who are trying to put up big points and whatnot. Not him. Very responsible defensive player, very smart player, and 3rd round pick. It might be a few years before he's in the NHL, but I think Stevie Y got himself a pretty good pick here.
I'll say
for 70th overall.
I'll say for sure, man, and especially playing for Denver, playing down there with Bobby Brink.
Yep.
So I mean, you can't go wrong on that. And that was who I had on my prospect watch last week. Was his teammate, Carter's teammate, was Bobby Brink. So all right, man. Yeah, that team down there is.
Oh, they're good.
Oh
Denver
boy, they
is
are
filthy
stacked. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Filthy. Yeah, I like that. All right, folks. Well, here we go. My prospect watch for this week is Marco Rossi, a center, left-hand shot to center, 20 years old. He's 5'9", 182 pounds. So he plays a big game. He has that capability to crash bodies, which he does. He's drafted by Minnesota in the 1st round, 9th overall in the 2020 NHL draft. For the Iowa Wild, he's played 44 games, 16 goals, 26 assists for 42 points, plus 7 for that. He's also had 2 games played now with Minnesota. The Wild, he's had 0.0 game assists and all that, and he's a -1. But I think he's, even though his size is a little bit on the smaller side of 5'9", he is 182 pounds, so he's a thick 5'9". So and he's putting up pretty good goals. He's putting up pretty good numbers.
Yeah.
He's about a point a game per game player with 42 points in 44 games played for AHL. So all right, that's a pretty good player. I think that Minnesota has drafted there in the 1st round, 9th overall.
Absolutely. Well, if you're a 20-year-old being at almost a point per game in the AHL, you're not far off from the NHL. I think probably next year you're seeing him in a Minnesota Wild uniform.
I would have to agree with you on that 100%, making him, 5'11", maybe on skates.
Yeah, you had a few inches on skates. So
right.
5'11", 6 foot on skates, maybe adds a little bit more weight, gets up to like 187-ish, something like that.
Could be.
He's going to be, he was taken in the top 10 for a reason. He's going to be a really, really good player.
Exactly. This is the reason why I selected him, because he was taken in the top 10 in the 2020 draft by Minnesota, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play for that Minnesota Wild here in the next couple of years here, that's for sure. So there you go, folks. There was our prospect watch for this week.
And there you have it, everybody. That is episode 58 of the Off the Wall Hockey Show. It's a hockey show for hockey fans, part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. And really, really appreciate everybody watching. Steel, as always, it was awesome to have you. Great to talk some hockey. And we got another great week of action in the books.
I'm here to tell you, and we've got another great week of action coming up.
That is true.
I mean, my gosh, it's like it just gets better and better. And here's the best part. We are 10 days away. That's right, folks, 10 days away from the trade deadline. And playoff hockey is starting soon.
Yes, we're getting close for sure. So, we're like we're going down the stretch, like the title of this episode. We're going down the stretch here of the NHL regular season. Trade deadline's coming up. Playoffs are less than 2 months away. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and we're gonna get to see some great hockey, and then it's gonna ramp up even more when we get to postseason action, as it always does.
Exactly. So with that being said, man, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everybody for coming in and checking us out, man. This is the Off the Wall Hockey Show, a hockey show for hockey fans. It's part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. Please hit the like and subscribe. We really appreciate that, man. Anything that you guys can do as far as to bump us up and get us better viewership, better ratings or whatever, we will take that. Thank you all for being in the chat. Thank you all for being here on the show. John, thank you for everything that you do here at Steel Flyers All Sports Network and helping to do this great show, man. What a great stuff. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and that's going to do it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week with episode 59. We'll be getting real close to trade deadline day then. Woo! And we'll certainly have a lot to talk about. So have a great night. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys all enjoy your weekend, and we'll be talking to you soon.